Welcome. In this video we are going through the manifesto put out by the campaign of Peter Obi and his vice president Yusuf Baba Ahmed in order to gain an understanding of their plans for Nigeria if Peter Obi were to be elected president of Nigeria. So Peter Obi was the last of the three major candidates in the race to release a manifesto detailing the policy aims of their campaigns. If you want to know a bit more about each of the three major candidates in Nigeria's presidential race, you should check out my video where I made a profile of each candidate on my channel. Now, Peter Obi announced the release of his manifesto via Twitter to his 2.6 million followers, along with a link to the document. The manifesto is titled Our Pact with Nigerians. In the manifesto, Peter Obi describes the current state of Nigeria as being in a state of deterioration. Therefore, in order to combat that, he talks about how he would like to completely redirect the current state of Nigeria. One quote inside the manifesto states, "We want to end the race to extreme poverty and state collapse under mercenaries who have posed as messiahs." He continues to blast the current state of Nigeria's leadership by stating that, quote, "Although we have made modest gains from 1999 to 2015, the culture of corruption highlighted by plundering of state resources and insensitivity to the suffering of the people continued to define statecraft and resulted in growth without development." The manifesto also blasted the state of poverty within Nigeria. It states that the reason behind the mass levels of poverty faced by Nigeria is a result of bad governance of former administrations in Nigeria, and that the current state of poverty in the country cannot simply be blamed on the coronavirus pandemic or the war taking place between Russia and Ukraine, but rather the policy failures of Nigerian administrations. The manifesto boldly claims that, quote, "Nigeria failed to realize its potential because her leaders are mostly incompetent," and states that in the Obi Baba Ahmed movement that they are committed to new politics that starts with what they describe as ethics of servant leaders founded on the marriage of clean hearts and skillful hands. In the manifesto, Peter Obi claims that him and his vice president are ready to take over the position and steer the country in a new direction, which they claim would lead to development and prosperity for Nigerians. The 7 priorities of Peter Obi. In the manifesto, a list of 7 priorities are laid out as part of Peter Obi's campaign's commitments that they would deliver if Peter Obi was elected president of Nigeria. Their first priority listed is mainly centered around securing Nigeria by ending banditry and insurgency from terrorist groups such as Boko Haram. They claim that they will deal decisively with insecurity by putting a permanent end to incessant banditry, insurgency, kidnapping, and cross-border terrorism in the country. In order to achieve this, they claim that they would work to secure all of Nigeria's borders in order to restrict and control the inflow and outflow of people through the country. They claim that they would increase the amount of personnel in Nigeria's armed forces, as well as deploy state-of-the-art military technology to fight terrorists, bandits, insurgents, and kidnappers. Another point made under the first priority is uniting Nigeria with what they say would be an all-inclusive government. The second priority listed is that Peter Obi would like to develop Nigeria's economy by increasing the amount of production that is done in Nigeria in order to shift the economy from a consumption-based economy towards export-oriented industrialization. The manifesto states that Nigeria's current business environment makes the country uncompetitive as a result of high logistic costs at the ports, borders, and roads. Therefore, Peter Obi claims that if elected president, he would work to ease restrictions to free trade and make it easier to do business within Nigeria. The manifesto also describes how they would work to reduce Nigeria's national debt by implementing what they describe as, quote, "radical economic policies that would reduce Nigeria's debt servicing ratio." In addition to that, there is an emphasis put on developing Nigeria's agriculture industry through what they describe as an agrarian revolution in order to make agriculture the new oil of a prosperous Nigerian economy. The third priority listed in the manifesto states that Peter Obi would seek to reform aspects of Nigeria's government as well as its legal frameworks in order to, what they claim, would aggressively fight corruption and reduce Nigeria's cost of governance. The reforms outlined in the manifesto are that they wish to strengthen Nigeria's federalism, reduce the cost of governance in Nigeria, implement aggressive reforms of the parliamentary agencies with what they say would be a view of improving their synergy and functional effectiveness, as well as increase the number of judges on Nigeria's Supreme Court. They're also looking to reform what they describe as Nigeria's broken politics by implementing the following policies. A steady adjudication of cases. B, digitization of all court processes. C, allowing Nigerians in diaspora to vote. And D, all election-related court cases should be concluded before swearing in. The fourth priority is centered around the Nigerian economy. It states that as president, Peter Obi would leapfrog Nigeria into the fourth industrial revolution through what he claims would be the application of scientific and technological innovation corporations to create a digital economy. The fifth priority is centered around Nigeria's infrastructure. It states that as president of Nigeria, Peter Obi would work to build what they describe as a world-class infrastructure to develop an effective power supply in Nigeria, as well as develop the modes of transportation within Nigeria's borders, specifically the rail, road, and air transportation. The sixth priority is centered around Nigeria's youth. Peter Obi claims that he would work to enhance the human capital of Nigeria's youth. He states that he would achieve this through investments in world-class scholarships, research, and quality healthcare, as well as entrepreneurship education, along with addressing multidimensional poverty. One of the policies proposed in the manifesto is a mandatory no child left behind education policy, as well as providing health insurance cover to the poorest Nigerians by strengthening Nigeria's National Health Insurance Scheme, or NHIS. The seventh priority is centered around foreign policy. Peter Obi states that he would conduct Afrocentric diplomacy that protects the rights of Nigerian citizens abroad, as well as advance the economic interests of Nigeria and Nigerian businesses. It states that it would be unrelenting in protecting the rights of Nigerians anywhere in the world, and that they would be developmentalists, modeling their policies for Nigeria on the reformist governments of South Korea and Japan. Peter Obi states in the seventh priority that he would rebuild Nigeria's military power, and that they would reassert Nigeria's leadership role in African affairs, and that his administration would creatively deploy Nigeria's soft power in Africa and around the world, through Nigeria's leading role in entertainment, specifically through music produced in Nigeria, as well as through Nollywood production. Furthermore, outlined in the manifesto is the importance of ECOWAS and the ECOWAS region in securing Nigeria's borders, ensuring regional security, and the strategic influence ECOWAS has in ensuring a peaceful and democratic West Africa. The manifesto does describe challenges associated with ECOWAS's freedom of movement protocols. However, in the manifesto, it does state that despite the freedom of movement protocols, that if elected, they would still work towards securing Nigeria's borders. An interesting fact about the manifesto is that climate change is brought up at multiple points within the document. Listed among the pledges made by Peter Obi and his vice president is a pledge to engineer the transition of Nigeria from fossil fuel dependency to climate and eco-friendly use. At another point within the manifesto, it states that, quote, "It has been established that Nigeria is among the top 10 countries most vulnerable to climate change, which poses the greatest economic, physical, financial, security, and developmental risks, but it also offers an enormous opportunity to unleash the green growth transition and boost prosperity." It goes on to say in the manifesto that, quote, "We shall establish a green army tasked with identifying all opportunities to tap into the $3 trillion international climate finance to engineer economic growth and employment for millions of our youths and transition our country to the green epoch." If you liked it, please consider giving the video a like and subscribe to my channel to see more content just like this. Thank you, and I hope to see you in the next video.